What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Man Cave Movie Night.
Woo!
We love you. We love
Yeah,
you. We
we
just love
Yes.
you.
do. We do love
We
you.
wouldn't do this
So,
if you weren't here. And when you stopped
uh,
coming, we won't be here anymore.
that's a
We'll leave
big
when you
fact.
leave.
We'll
That's a
leave.
big fact. I just don't want to be the last or the first one to leave the party. So, if you guys step out, I would actually really appreciate it.
Hey, you guys good to
Um,
go? Or no, man, we're staying here all night.
okay,
Yeah,
all
dude,
right.
let's.
Sick.
Hey,
Oh,
you
Oh,
want to
cool.
sick.
leave
Yeah,
the party, but you
that's what
didn't
I wanted
drive
to
and you're
do
scared
too.
about
Yeah.
bringing it up. Um, okay, so if you are on autoplay and you didn't click on this episode, we are talking about The Boys today. And I did book a guest for this
Yo,
episode,
yo,
Yeah.
but
All
he
right.
please,
canceled on me last
please.
second.
Oh, was it Carl
Oh.
Urban?
It was, well, it was he demanded that I refer to him as Billy Butcher.
Hmm.
Um,
Oh.
and like I had to do all this communication with him. I had a phone call with him. It was great and everything, but he just texted me and said that he couldn't show up. Slash also him being here would have required me to say some stuff that I don't want immortalized on the internet.
Interesting.
So
Because of
That's
his
such a Billy
language.
Butcher move too. He's going rogue,
yeah, he's
going against the
absolutely going
plan.
rogue. But
Yeah.
he did send me a couple of questions. Well, he sent me a couple of ideas and then I turned them into questions. Um, he was like, "I'm sorry that I can't show up, but here's a good second alternative idea." Which is just a couple of superpowers based would you rather questions.
Great.
So I've got a couple of
I
these and
love it.
I've crafted all of these based on things that I'm interested in. Um, so yeah, we're just gonna throw them out. There's no winner or loser to this one. We're just gonna, kind of hash it out. So first of all,
So is it fine that I win then? Since there's no winner
no,
loser, can I just be the one that
no,
wins?
no, you can't. So first
Okay.
things first, would you rather not be able to taste milk or only be able to taste milk?
Not.
This is written
Definitely
by someone who
not.
likes milk way too much. Yeah, definitely
Okay.
not. I don't like milk
But think
enough
about
to.
think about cheese.
I
Now your
don't.
cheese is
That's
ruined.
fine.
I would also give up cheese,
It's
then give
fine.
up everything
Everything
else.
else.
Okay.
Cheese and milk is not worth every other food. Almond milk, just swap it. It tastes like close enough to milk. It's almonds.
True.
Okay. Well, I
Almonds and
think
cows taste the same.
I think the rest of
That's
these
true.
questions might not work out very well.
All
Um,
Are they milk related?
okay. Yeah. Well, not milk related necessarily, but okay. Would you rather increase your jump height by 0.5% every time you drink a bottle of ketchup, and this is stackable,
Oh.
or only be able to taste milk? I was figuring that you guys would pick that one and it would move on to the next round.
I see. So you only prepared the one bracket.
Well, no.
well, I mean,
Um,
well, let's just keep
let's
going.
just say,
I'm not a huge ketchup fan.
no,
Um, but
I
I'm
don't
also, again, I don't want to just taste milk. And so I'm
for
still gonna go
everything.
with the ketchup one. I honestly might not ever use the power though, because I don't think I'd ever
I don't
uh
really jump
But
drink
if you
that much
the
really
ketchup.
front
or
loaded it,
drink.
That's
you
true. I
could
could
you
be
could be able to jump
incredibly
like
sick for a
pretty
while
high.
and then just be able to jump.
Yeah.
But
So
can you
yeah, I'm still
land
gonna go with that one.
like, do your legs compensate for the ability to land, or do you just jump really high and then just break your ankles on the
I
impact?
think jumping higher includes like being able to complete the full cycle of the jump.
Mm. But also you could start wearing a parachute around once you get that high.
Yeah.
Then
And
you
you
could
could
just
like
jump up and then
Legend of Zelda
That
style.
is
yeah,
that is true.
exactly.
Yeah,
Rivali's Gale it.
Yeah. That could be
dude.
kind of
Shout out
cool.
Rivali's Gale.
Big
So it
shout out to
sounds like you
Rivali's
guys are
Gale.
going with the ketchup one.
I'm thinking,
Yeah, we're gonna go
yeah.
with the ketchup
That's
one, I think, for
Okay.
this one.
Give me just 1 second. Will you guys just talk for a second while I come up with some other
So
Oh,
is this
okay,
milk
yeah.
thing
I
like
was expecting
like
it
a
to-
Homelander?
Don't ask me questions because I'm working on
Oh,
this.
Jared, do you think this milk thing is like a Homelander reference or just
And
that
don't really
Niall
talk
really
about
likes
like the
milk?
milk part of it. Just kind of talk about other
Oh,
stuff.
Okay, well, I want to answer Lucas's question. I don't
wish that
really
you
know.
would.
I've seen Niall drink a lot of milk in the past.
he does like milk. I like milk. Don't get me wrong. I like milk. I
When
attribute a lot of
Homelander,
my height to milk,
oh,
but
fair.
I
When
don't.
when Homelander started drinking a lot of milk in the show, I was like, you know who this kind of reminds me of?
Okay,
My
I've got
buddy
my
N- oh,
questions.
Niall
sorry.
Got my
Thorley,
questions.
yeah. Same
So
type of milk too.
here's one. Here's one. Uh, excuse me. Would you rather,
Oh,
forgot the
Yeah.
name of the game. Would you rather be able to climb anything but have a hard time walking normally? Or
okay.
be able to walk better than anyone in the world, but never be able to climb?
I
I mean, what
I
does
I
it mean to
walk more than I
walk?
climb, certainly.
Yeah,
was
so
the
you could walk better than anyone in the world.
Yeah, I do that.
climb
Especially
like
with the
But then
Olympics
it,
going
then
on
you
right
can
now.
never climb.
There's some really good
like you can't
walkers
go on a
out there.
hike?
If it involves climbing, you cannot climb.
Like is a climb an incline or like physically like rock climbing?
I think he means
You
like
can't climb.
tumbling up stuff.
Or you could be able to climb anything,
Hmm.
but you would just have a hard time walking normally.
Well, see,
You
in this
wouldn't
one,
not
you
be
could
able to, you would
also
just have a
Definitely
hard
wear
don't
a
want
parachute,
that.
as
Yeah,
we
you
discussed
could.
earlier.
Yeah, are these stackable? Are the different abilities you're describing stackable?
In what way is it? How would this be stackable? These are
Like
these are
each of the
tactical
would you
things.
rather?
Do we still taste milk, or
Like
or-
do we have all the abilities we choose or is it just
Oh,
one?
the ketchup thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
can we do
Yeah,
that?
we
and
Can we
could
do
then
say that
both?
we could say that we're building a super
a
scroll,
superhuman?
a
Yeah.
super scroll type character who has an amalgamation of powers. So
The
right now
skill
you
tree is
cannot
whack.
taste milk.
Yeah, it is.
You can increase your jump height by 0.5% every time you drink a bottle of ketchup.
And we walk really well because I don't think either of us
And
want
you
to
can
Yeah,
walk
we'll
better
walk
than
really well.
anyone in the world, but you can never climb.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah,
really
that's fine
care
because now we
do
can jump.
that.
instead
Yeah,
of
now we
climb.
can jump. We don't need to climb. We can jump.
Okay, so I got just one more, and this one is like the crown jewel. all of it.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to a classic here. So, would you rather be able to read minds? Ooh.
Whoa.
Or only be able to taste milk and be able to read minds? Ooh.
Interesting.
Um,
Still, yeah,
I'm gonna
still
go with
kinda,
just the read minds.
yeah,
it's the
just
basic-
Guys,
normal.
I don't understand
basic.
you at all. I
Interesting.
thought that
I don't really like milk.
I don't like.
I guess
I don't
this
like
is
milk
a
enough.
conversation that we never had together.
I guess
I just
not. I
kind
guess
of-
we should have gotten on the same
I
page
would
about
have
milk.
Yeah.
figured that with all of the
Before we
other
started hanging
interests
out.
that we have in common.
If you said chocolate milk, maybe. Probably
Yeah.
not
Chocolate milk's
still.
bad for
I
you.
mean,
Yeah, but you're not you're not always drinking milk. You're just tasting it.
yeah,
You're
Yeah,
eating your
you can
vegetables and
only
it
taste
tastes like
milk.
milk.
But
Totally.
you can read minds. Ooh.
You can read
Yeah,
minds
we'll
normally
just
now in
take
this
the
scenario.
normal read minds.
Yeah, it's
Would
just
you
reading
take the
minds with
milk?
an added benefit. I would have picked the milk on every single one of these.
Interesting. Even the ones where it wasn't an option.
Yeah, well, the original one was be able to only taste milk but have a hard time walking normally, or be able to walk better than anyone in the world but never be able to taste milk.
Oh,
I
don't
would
like-
still take the walk one, even.
the taste of milk is like such a unique. Like I've never really thought specifically about the taste of just milk.
It's
don't
the
like it
only
that
thi-
much.
It's
Like,
something
I
I think
guess
about
it-
multiple times a day.
It does have a taste. I'm recognizing, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never like think about. Oh, yay, yummy, tasty milk.
All right,
It's just
listener.
Do you drink it
vehicle
like
for
medicine then? Oh, it's just
Just
flavored after your
yeah.
cereal.
I mean, yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's normal.
Yeah, I don't.
I don't
drink that
trust
much.
drink
people who
straight
just
milk.
pour
I drink
themselves a glass of milk.
I pour
Yeah.
myself a glass of milk almost every day, and that is not part of the joke of this episode.
And I don't
genuinely
trust
do
you,
that.
Niall.
I don't know
trust
that I can
you.
trust you either.
But hey,
It's too much milk.
hey, you listener out there, before we go into the whole episode, we're going to talk about the boys. We're going to listen to our theme song. not in that order. But before we do that, I want you to just close your eyes, let go of the steering wheel, and just picture
Yell.
the taste of
Oh,
milk.
yeah, and that.
Summon it, feel it on your tongue, and enjoy that throughout this whole episode. And now imagine that taste in your mouth forever. This is a gift I bequeath unto you, dear listener. I hope that you have another great weekend at some point.
And
We
a
are
large glass
talking
of milk while you're
and a
listening.
big old glass of milk. And I want it to be so cold that when you pour it into the glass, the outside of the glass gets condensation. That sounds great. Okay.
Yeah.
So this
Yep.
week we are talking about Los Boy.
Los
season
Boy.
4, a controversial season.
Los Boy Quattro.
Interesting.
uh,
Yeah,
of
Niall
you
didn't get
will.
to talk to us last time we talked about the boys
I
because it
didn't
was
get to
just
talk
Jared and I.
Yeah.
last time.
So
last
maybe
time
we
you
should do the
took
same thing
advantage.
again. Maybe we should
Yeah.
not let Niall participate. He can just watch.
I just have a feeling he's gonna keep talking about milk.
Yeah, I don't really.
I'm not gonna keep talking about milk. I think shout out out there, listeners, if I've ever brought up milk on the podcast before.
It kind of
I
seems
was
to be
about to very confidently say that I
pervasive.
haven't.
Let's go to
but
our
I'm-
wiki.
It's very possible that I've talked about milk before. On
Yeah,
this podcast.
fandom.com/man
I like
cave movie night
milk.
subsection
get-
milk.
Let's
like
get a
milk.
tally. Let's find a
The
tally
milk
for
of the
milk.
cow is the
Let's
milk
get a
that I
milk
prefer.
count for this episode. How many times have we
Let's
said
get
it?
a milk count
Dozens.
for this episode. Yeah.
Dozens.
But this has kind of been a controversial episode. At least I wasn't
Season.
watching the other seasons. Season. This is going to be a controversial episode because of
Ugh.
the
Because of
milk wars. But I didn't watch the other seasons as they were coming out, so I don't really know how people felt about those seasons as they were coming out. I only knew about them in retrospect, and everybody's just talking about how much they love all of them. I never heard a bad thing about any of the seasons or saying like, oh, this is the best season of The Boys. Like, I feel like you get that out of a lot of shows with The Boys. I never heard any discussion about like what the best season was. I just heard that the show as a whole was good. And so I was like, great, cool. And I watched it, and genuinely watching the show, it felt that way. It like breaks between seasons, they didn't even feel different. It just felt like such a smooth continuation. And for me, I finished season 3, and then like that week, the first episode of season 4 came out. So I've been like keeping up basically with it.
Nice.
Like it just kept like it felt like a solid flow for me. And I'm happy to report that it just felt like like I noticed no difference in quality of storytelling or anything like that. And I wonder, of course we're going to get into our opinions about what we thought about the season and everything, but I almost wonder if it's like, if I benefited from just flowing straight into this season versus I feel like a lot of people had like a ton of anticipation for the season, and maybe that's where some of the letdown came from. Not all of it. I don't know, but I'm just interested to hear what you guys thought about this season in comparison to the other seasons, because I don't really have any insight to provide on that.
Great question.
Thanks.
Very good.
I can go. I really like this season a lot. Similar, a
Sheep.
little bit of a yeah. Sorry,
and then I'm just gonna say I like whatever Lucas says. Then I'm
Just
gonna
agree?
That's
Okay,
a good
cool.
idea.
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah. So I watched similarly all of seasons 1 through 3 as soon as season 3 ended, which was unfortunately a couple of years ago. But I didn't have to wait between seasons either. For me personally, I think season 1 is still my favorite. I just love the way that it establishes the world. But seasons 2, 3, and 4, I all still really enjoy. I understand some of the criticisms from season 4, especially coming off of season 3, where there was stuff like Herogasm and some of that really intense imagery that kind of was very popular, or I think helped the boys get popular, or at least people talking about it, because it's like, dude, did you see that episode of The Boys where they did this? And I think they were trying to do a lot of that with season 4. I didn't mind it. Like I thought it was, it's fun to. I mean, I guess spoilers as well for season 4 of The Boys. If you've gotten this far, it's a pretty graphic show as well. So I mean, like you kind of inherently, it's kind of a gross show to talk about sometimes. And so specifically referencing some of the episodes are going to be like, oh man, that is a horrid, horrid thought. And it is. Watching a man eat himself out in a human centipede is gnarly. But funny, like shock factor. I don't know. I honestly love this show. Like I rewatching or watching through season 4, I was like, man, I kind of want to rewatch the other seasons too and like watch Gen V because I just love all the characters and how long we've like had to establish them. Like I feel like season 4 does a good job of giving us a little bit further development with all of them. Like Mother's Milk kind of gets further along with his ex-wife and his daughter, and even like Homelander and Butcher and Ryan and Jackie Quaid and all. I like the character development in the season. Frenchie, I mean, some people were not keen on his arc in the early episodes, but I didn't. I thought it worked. I enjoyed the decisions they made. I liked how it ended. And yeah, I love in particular. There are a few lines in like the second to last episode of the season where the Deep and Butcher interact, which I don't know if it was the first time they've met, but it's kind of seems like it might have been. But just he starts talking to the Deep, and the Deep is like, dude, what the heck are you even saying? Your voice makes no sense. And I just he had some great lines in that episode. And yeah, I just love the way the characters interact with each other and just kind of the world that's established, especially in this society we live in where there's so much superhero content. It continually feels refreshing for me at least. So I'd love to hear what you guys thought.
Yeah, I will be the buzzkill a little bit.
Huh? No, you're supposed to
Where
agree.
Oh yeah, sorry. The Deep and
That's how you agree.
That's how you agree. Yeah, if you just exhale if you agree. No. I want to hear your opinion.
did not love this season. And maybe that is anticipation for season 4 having ended on such a high note with the end of season 3. And I really do think a lot of it comes down to the shock factor element that you were talking about, Lucas, which, yeah, like it is a staple of the show. And you do get bursts of just really intense kind of these very intense scenes and predicaments, and you're kind of like, oh gosh, this is something I've never seen on television before. And it feels like now that they're in season 4, it it feels like they're writing themselves into those predicaments rather than finding themselves there. It's, oh, let's really introduce this character Tech Knight so we can have this episode where he's like from a
Sex
slave
dungeon,
owner
yeah.
family and he's into weird kinky stuff, and we can just put Huey down there and abuse him. And it's just like it doesn't, that episode, the stuff that was happening with Homelander and uh the
Sage.
Sage, thank you, Sister Sage, that stuff was way more interesting and just a way better show than the Tech Knight stuff, which I would have preferred it just being cut out. And again, I'm not like there's a lot of stuff that does work for me, but when it comes down to it, I think a lot of these episodes felt like, let's write an episode where sheep get, Gen V and they go crazy and can fly around and just eat people. And it's, really like weird and strange and sick and,
And
but
we
I just prefer the seasons that are focused far more on the story, on the characters, on, driving these, I don't know, just interesting power dynamics between the Supes and the people without the powers. I didn't really feel like any of our characters were in danger at any point, even though they were more near danger in this season than they've ever been. And so I feel like we're just kind of losing that balance of these big shock moments and our, I mean, caring for the characters as much. There was a lot of good episodes for these characters and for development. I don't feel like any of the characters really ended in a different place, maybe Frenchie and Kamiko, but I feel like they were
Starlight,
forced.
big time. She's being forced to come to
That's
grips with how bad of a person she was growing up.
Yeah.
that's fair. That is fair. And that was very good. So maybe
And Butcher, who had a
And
huge
Butcher.
evolution of his like how he wanted to treat all soups versus just the
versus
bad ones.
yeah, that is true. I don't know. I don't feel like I landed in a as solid spot with the end of season 4 as I did with season 3.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm just comparison is the thief of joy kind of
Sure.
type beat. But all that to say, I just didn't have as much fun watching it because I knew every time I sat down, I was subjecting myself to watching some horrendous stuff.
Right.
And I
That's
wasn't
fair.
going to get that much out of it.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I felt every episode.
That's fair.
And
That's
it was,
very
I
fair.
think, also a little bit different when I was watching it with Lucas versus watching it by myself.
Yeah.
Mm, that's fair.
So
I
I'll also throw that in there.
That's fair. I do. Yeah. I just love violence, man. I get Quentin Tarantino. The older I get, the more I watch. I get it, man. It's just funny. It's just funny to see hyper stylized violence and stuff, and Boys delivers it in spades. And like the way, like, and even, you know, even the stuff like Butcher killing Newman, I was surprised by that. I was like, and you know, they do it in a very grisly way, of course, but I was like, dang, wow, he actually just walks in and tears her in half and then it's like, all right,
Yeah.
see you guys.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
thought that was good. I thought it was kind of silly that they ended the season in the exact same way with Soldier Boy being revealed to be alive. And it's like they did that last season. We already know he's
Right.
alive. Like,
Yeah.
why did you
Yeah.
just do the same
However,
thing again?
I think the general state of the ending of this season I like more than any of the other seasons because I feel like the other seasons, like the whole season builds up and then there's like big confrontation, but then also kind of like resolution with a lead line for like, okay, here's kind of what the next season is going to be, touching on.
Yeah.
But it always kind of felt like big conflict, pretty good resolution for the most part, with some loose threads that are going to turn into something in the next season. Where this one, I really liked that it almost kind of like flipped that a little bit, where it was like, yeah, big confrontation, but not like as much as the other seasons. Like it wasn't a season 3 finale of like this giant like battle with all of the characters involved. But then the ending of it was kind of like, and like everything bad that could happen is happening now. And
Yeah, I
like,
don't.
it made me very, very excited for the next season, which like at the end of all of those seasons, I was pumped for the next one. Maybe I feel that stronger because now I'm going to have to wait.
Now you wait.
Uh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
now you
fair.
have to 2 years also, which is just like,
which
It's
how is that the world we
tough.
live in?
dude, when did TV, what started that? What started
Streaming.
shows taking 2 years to make?
Streaming, because there's no advertising
Yeah.
schedule. There's just like they can take as long as they want and there's no pressure.
You
Ugh.
also streaming, we have a lot of shows that are thrown up for season 1 without any promise of,
Yeah.
future seasons. I'm
futures, yeah.
sure you get that in network shows as well. Like you get
Yeah.
shows dropped after season 1, but I feel like it's maybe more prevalent now. I don't
Totally.
know the stats on that.
And a lot quicker too, because like a Netflix will base a lot of their decisions on the first week of streaming, which is crazy. And
Yeah.
it's the whole show in 1 week versus a show like Sunny, for example. It built over the episodes and the years, so it was like
Yeah.
week to week it was varying, and then year to year it was slowly improving. But
And now it's
sad
that you don't
because,
get that.
a show
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Sunny in that format kind of couldn't get off the ground in a environment like this.
Oh no, there are
I
a
don't-
ton of shows that
I don't think it could get off the ground on like a network or on a streaming platform, but I think that's why we have YouTube and TikTok and
Yeah, but it's so
that kind of
depressing
stuff.
that's like YouTube, like you can just post it on this thing where it just feels so much less real on YouTube, I guess. Like,
That's
Yeah.
true. But
I
I
don't
think
know.
depends. I think it depends.
I don't
I
know,
agree, but I
YouTube's
think it
making
depends
a
on who-
weird
like-
shift.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
YouTube now is not YouTube 10 years
No.
ago.
No,
at all.
well, especially because the other thing with that is like Mr. Beast, like that's a multi-billion-dollar corporation and they're
Mhm.
pumping millions of dollars into each video, but it's like very different than like a show or a movie but it's
Yeah.
still costing a huge amount of money. So
Yeah.
very
And there's also trends of more people are spending more time watching YouTube on their smart TV than on other platforms, right?
Interesting.
People are
Interesting.
casting, and so they want longer form content. And so I'm sure
Yeah.
you've noticed in the algorithms and stuff, like you're probably more likely to start seeing 20 to 30-minute videos
Oh, big time.
about like a topic, like some video essay. And so I think it's slowly kind of taking the place in this weird middle ground of I don't know, like
It's almost like syndicated movies.
Almost, yeah. It's an
Yeah.
interesting comparison. Yeah, it kind of is.
where just
But,
like
yeah.
anyone can make anything now. Like
Yeah.
you,
Oh, yeah.
any of us could make a documentary and people would watch it and we'd get paid for it if
Yeah.
it was good
Yeah.
enough, right?
If it,
Like
yeah,
that's
if
kind
people,
of a
if it
really
caught on.
cool.
Yeah,
world we
there's
live
definitely
in.
like the double-edged sword with YouTube because it's awesome. Yeah, that it's just open to anyone, and then that you can just do anything and just have a platform where potentially millions of people could see it. Because like YouTube is like YouTube and Facebook are like the entertainment platforms internationally. A lot of places, especially in poor
Mm.
countries, because they're free. So it's like all that kids YouTube content and like in like a T series, I think it was called the one channel that was above Mr. Beast is like the entertainment platform in
Mhm.
India because they just put it on YouTube for free for people to watch because they know that's where their audiences
And
are.
make
Yeah.
And they make a
insane
ton of
amounts
money.
off of
Smart.
ad revenue and merch
Yeah.
sales and stuff.
All that.
But you know what
anyway,
couldn't be
all of
on
that-
YouTube?
Oh, yeah.
It's this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Probably.
no,
I
no.
don't. I'm sure it would get taken down.
That
Or
there is still
probably.
as far as I'm aware, there is still the, restrictions and
Yeah,
things
but
like
Yeah.
every
Well, no, there
now
definitely
and
are.
then you come across something and you're like, how is this
How is this allowed?
here?
yeah.
I guess not
This
really
is-
with violence.
Yeah, violence, nudity, stuff like that. You won't find
Yeah.
that on.
Yeah, I don't
YouTube.
think
But
swearing, yeah, but I guess language is just totally allowed, but
Yeah.
speaking of
swearing
things
or
that we
violence and nudity.
hate about the entertainment industry, there is also one of my favorite things about The Boys is they will always find a way to make very pertinent and pretty niche cultural references a lot
Yeah.
of the time.
Yeah.
Like
that's true.
when Ashley says that they're scrapping the A Train movie because
Yeah.
they'll make more money off of the tax write-off by just
Yeah.
not releasing it. And I was like, that's funny. And like maybe not everyone watching this gets
Knows
that
what
joke,
that- yeah.
you know. But it's like with the Batwoman stuff and the friggin' Wile E. Coyote versus Acme, which is a movie that I would kill to see. But
Who
I
would you
just
kill?
like
Yeah.
Who would you
Decide.
kill to
oh,
see
just
it?
like just
Pick someone.
indiscriminately.
Just whoever.
Yeah, just indiscriminately, I would.
Hey, you listener, it could be you.
It could be
Oh,
you.
that could be nice.
That could be kind of that. Could be our
Hey,
giveaway.
let Niall kill you so we can watch that movie.
That could be our giveaway.
Well, we have no
But,
promise that we will be allowed to watch it.
But
Yeah,
he'll
but,
kill.
like-
He'll
but
still
it'll
kill
show
you, just-
his
his
how
resolve.
driven his
Dude, that
resolve.
would be crazy if there was a serial killer who's like,
I'm
I'm
gonna-
gonna keep killing until I can watch
Until you
this
let
movie.
me see Wile E. Coyote versus Acme.
That's hilarious. That's
I
a good
bet-
premise for
I
a
bet they
movie
do
in
it.
and of itself. The
That's
guy's
true.
really
That is,
excited for a movie to come out and it gets scrapped. And he's like, I'm gonna start killing people until I get
Kind
to
of
watch
a
this movie.
industry commentary,
Yeah,
but also
man.
like a slasher movie.
Yeah, that could be fun.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty
But
good.
with
Write
the
that down. Not you, listener. That's all right.
I liked there were a couple of like the whole Will Ferrell bit, all that
Yeah.
with the movie in general.
So good.
I loved it. I thought that was hilarious. And then the one other comment they made, I just totally forgot. So yeah, Jared, you can go ahead and talk and I'll
Well,
bring that up later.
Womp womp.
Yeah, I think this
Sorry.
show is very much like US politics based in a lot
Totally.
of ways, and just US economy and media and all of that. And I do like a good cynical look, and I'm sure we talked about this on just the regular Boys episode, but like I do like this look at superheroes and basically saying, if they were real in this world, like in America, they would absolutely be privatized.
Oh
It would
yeah.
absolutely be a commercial thing, and you'd be selling a lot of toys for it and all this stuff. And most likely, it would be about just gain instead of about doing good for people.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so I do like kind of moving into a more political realm. And obviously, there's maybe some big undertones and presumptions about different parties, possibly. But
Whoa, you don't want to be too woke there, Jared.
Yeah,
Careful what you
chill, dude.
say.
sorry, I'm a hardcore libertarian, so
Yeah.
I'm just glad to see my party represented more. No, but I like those conversations that they bring about and that kind of mind, I don't know, that mental scenario. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like I
Mhm.
just
Yeah,
like
I totally
thinking
get what
about
you
it
mean.
being in real life. And I feel like
Mhm.
that's what this show does
Yeah,
very well.
Yeah.
totally. And I also like that there isn't like it's just superpowers and like the superpower could be anything, you know,
Mhm.
like the shapeshifter in this season. I thought that was such a cool character. And like we've seen shapeshifters before, but the flavor on this one of like tearing off the skin to become
Mhm.
different stuff,
Mm,
I thought was so creepy and cool. And like it just felt like such a horror movie concept put into this show, you know, which
Yeah.
I also will add the one thing that I wished really out of this season was I thought the Starlight imposter storyline was so interesting. And I would have loved to have that maybe one episode longer because
yeah.
they introduced it at the end of one episode and then resolved it in the next one, which is like fine because they packed a lot of stuff into this season. But like like Erin Moriarty is still in the show. So it's not like you're cutting her out of the
Mhm.
show and you're
Yeah, it's
giving
the same
her
actor.
an opportunity to act in a cool and kind of different way
Yeah,
and
she was great
and
as the
Yeah, it's
shapeshifter.
the yeah,
She
yeah,
did
totally.
really well.
but you as a viewer feel like she's gone, you know, and it like it gives you this really suspenseful, intense feeling. And it's done very well for how long they did it. I could have stood for it to go one more episode just because I loved that tension. And the resolution would have felt they could have resolved it in the exact same way. The resolution would have felt a little more rewarding than it was.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
fair.
like whatever.
Yeah.
Like that's such a small complaint from me that like who cares?
Do you feel like they were trying to juggle too much? Like obviously we had a lot of runtime. It was a full season, long episodes.
Yeah,
Do you feel like they could have cut some things out? And if they were going to, what would you want them to, if that makes sense? And where would you allocate the time differently? I guess is my
Hmm.
question.
I think what I would have done is, and this is asking a lot. This is asking for a pretty dramatic change to the storyline, but I would have not required Gen V as watching, which like they didn't, like I still got it. I haven't seen Gen V, but they
Mhm.
tied in like kind of the main through line of Gen V into this.
I don't even know
And
what that through line is.
it's
What is it?
the virus that
Oh,
you're on mute, Lucas, so we can't hear you, but they can, the listeners.
Oh, I should be on mute.
Hmm.
The virus, that's the part that
Yeah,
was
yeah.
in it, but I haven't
yeah,
watched Gen V,
I
so
got it.
right.
yeah.
But the
Honestly, Niall got me. So if you wanted to just mute yourself for the rest of
Yeah, I'll
this
just
cast, that'd be
turn my
great.
camera off here really quick.
but the
I
thing
wonder if my picture
was
shows up.
it
Oh, it does.
hey, look at that, your
He's
picture.
cute.
um the it felt those like two episodes where they went for that because it was a thing that like I hadn't heard of before, like them developing this virus, and then they just kind of talk about it like it's prior knowledge. It kind of felt weird and like side questy to me.
Yeah.
And then it also caused the separation of Butcher from the rest of the group, which I thought was cool. But also, in order to make that like reveal of Jeffrey Dean Morgan's character being fake, in order to make that pay off, they had to put a lot of time into him basically not doing anything, like
Yeah.
just kind of like, oh no, something happened, killed this person. Now I'm off doing my own thing, coughing a lot, falling over a lot. But then like we've got this dude just in a building working on this virus and we're being really nasty to him, but like it didn't move forward very often. And they had to keep cutting back to it to keep showing him talk to Jeffrey D. Morgan, which made that reveal so cool because
Yeah.
had they only showed him
Yeah.
working with him like 2 or 3 times, you wouldn't have cared as much.
Yeah.
So they showed it a lot, but I would have liked maybe a little less separation between him and the group. Like still kind of working with them, but then just like, all right, I gotta pop out and do this thing real quick. Pop out, come back and be part of the group still. Because first of all, I just love his interactions with the rest of the group and that like
Same.
disgusting power dynamic where
Oh yeah.
he's the worst and he shouldn't be the leader, but he's the only one that can be the leader and they
Mhm.
always end up going back to him. I love that so much. And we got less of that this season, you know.
Totally.
But that would have been kind of my change, is just bring those stories together a little bit more, and I feel like everything would have felt a little less packed that way.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I would, while we're talking about Butcher really quick, I kind of wish, and maybe we'll get this in season 5, I don't know, but it seemed like his power was very much Venom type coded,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like this kind of symbiote slug gross thing inside of him, and
Cancer
weird
incarnate.
cans, yeah, exactly, and tendrils and stuff. I kind of wish we'd get a little bit more Venom-esque stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Finally
Like I
do
just
Venom
want them to
justice,
kind of
but not
lean
in
into it a
Venom.
little bit.
Yeah.
But that's my only thing.
That's a
with
good
that.
see that is what I was thinking his hallucinations were. I was like, oh, that's the personification of whatever is crawling around inside of him.
Yeah.
I was thinking, oh, the Jeffrey Dean Morgan, it's in his head, but it's like that talking to him, whatever that stuff is, and his
Yeah.
wife and stuff. And I was like,
Yeah.
I wonder if they'll reveal that. And I guess they still could. That was
I
kind of
think-
how I interpreted that, but
Did they? I feel like they mentioned that, right? Or no?
that I don't know. Like
I
that
feel like
when
he
he's
had a-
talking, it's to the cancer.
That guy
that's
had
just
a
how he
line
views
that
it.
was like, let me take over kind of vibe,
Mm.
like give in to
Yeah.
this and
There was
like
And that
I'll
was
do this
referencing
for
it.
you.
Yeah.
However,
I
it
saved
also
you. Yeah.
it kind of shared the stage a little bit with also just being representations of the different sides of his morality, basically.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like it grayed that line a little bit to where it's not entirely clear, but it's definitely referenced because he's like, just give me control and I'll, help everything or blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. So
Yeah. I did really like him.
Yeah.
In this season.
I like a lot how Gen V reacts so differently to each person. And with like Homelander, he just lucked out
something
with
V.
the best possible combo. Like he got the Superman combo, right?
Yeah. But he's a
and-
biological boy.
Is he biological? I thought just Ryan was.
Well, no, because isn't he
Because he's Soldier Boy's son.
Soldier Boy's son?
Soldier
But
Yeah.
I thought he still had to take the V to get it. Maybe not.
I don't know.
Either way, his powers
I
are by
can't
far
remember.
and Soldier Boy's powers are great
I
too.
don't know.
I don't
That-
know.
We shouldn't be doing this podcast.
But he
We don't
was
know the
different.
answers to questions like that.
no, he was different than everybody else. Homelander was.
I feel like there was something about him
That's
that, like,
why they had their whole thing. Like he was meant to be
he was meant to be the guy.
the
Yeah.
perfect boy.
And
well, keep talking.
well, I was just gonna
Sorry.
say I liked that
Sorry.
episode a lot where he goes to his little oven town,
Yeah.
that little basement
Just oven room, actually.
oven room, I guess. Yeah. That whole episode was excellent.
I thought
Yeah,
And
that
that's good.
episode
the way
was
that it
my
ended was
favorite
just
of the
wild. With him killing everyone except for that one lady and just
Ugh.
leaving her in the room locked.
See, that was wretched.
Yeah.
And like also, I don't know, just so well done.
Yeah.
season.
That
it
whole
meant
episode, just
a
cooking
lot.
that guy
Ugh.
alive. Brutal.
The,
Everything he made people do in that was just miserable.
Yeah. The fun fact that I have about that one, I was reading an interview where Eric Kripke said in the script, Homelander was a lot more kind of Terminator in that episode, where he just kind of showed up and was like very cold the entire time and very vicious. And it was Anthony Starr's idea, the actor who plays Homelander. It was Anthony Starr's idea to make it more unclear how he felt about the situation. And like he compared it to, he's back in his childhood home and he has all of these childhood memories, and most of them are bad, but probably not all of them. Like
Hmm.
these are also the people that raised him, and he has like complicated relationships with him. And so he said like he wanted to play it almost more like an innocent child than just like a crazy mass murderer.
Yeah.
And so they kind of altered the script to allow for more of that. And it just makes it so much scarier and creepier than it would have been if he had just gone in and like mad, cold-blooded, just killed all of them one by one. Because that whole episode, you are kind of like, what's he gonna do? Like
Yeah.
every single person, you're kind of wondering, well, maybe he'll be nicer to this guy because he's talking to him in a nicer way. So I don't know. And that was for sure my favorite episode of this season. Oh, so cool.
It was
Yeah.
interesting. Couple reasons with that as well that I kind of like that they specifically mentioned. It's like he hasn't gone and done that at any other point previously. Like, kind of why now? And also, when that lady, like the director, showed up, she was like, "You could have left at any point. Like, yeah, you were here being experimented on, but also you knew how powerful you were. Like, you weren't really a prisoner. Like, you could have busted out of here and killed us all at any moment, but you didn't. Like, you kind of let yourself stay here." And so I thought that was like interesting, especially with him, like it finally coming back and I guess wanting to cut all the ties of his past life as he was like more focusing on Ryan and all that type of stuff. I really like the
That's
development of their relationship in particular. And when Ryan accidentally
also,
kills that guy, just
dude,
brutal.
just
He just writes it off. He's
smashes
like,
him.
it doesn't matter. And he's
I
like,
was
what do
gonna
you
say,
mean? I just
that's an interesting parallel what the director says to Homelander with Ryan, which is basically like you can leave anytime you want, but he kind of chooses to stay in this situation for whatever reason. Maybe it's because he knows like this is where I can be the strongest, or
Mhm.
whatever, but he's got this kind of complicated tug of war relationship. But I think that Ryan's progression in this season was also really interesting, where his conflict over who he is subservient to came a lot more to the surface than it's been. And like, I don't know. I was when Homelander throws his tantrum in his room and like burns everything and
Oh,
smashes
yeah.
everything because he finds the
The
picture.
picture.
And just like that dynamic is getting cooler, which I was nervous about because I figured that Ryan was just gonna like be annoying because he's got that freaking annoying voice, but I'm starting to really like his,
Yeah,
place in the
his
show.
development was, and especially how his character ended with killing the CIA director and then just kind of
Yeah.
Yeah.
running away. I was like,
Yeah,
huh,
pretty
interesting.
nuts.
Like, I really, because he doesn't want to go back to Homelander now. He doesn't even have Butcher anymore. So it's kind of like, is he just going to go rogue and be another like external
A
party
third
from the
party, yeah.
boys and like Homelanders? And I love the way the series, like the season ended with him ultimately, like him being upset, but then him still being in control. I really liked Sage and Firecracker. I thought they were great additions. Like, obviously,
Yeah.
terrible
Big time.
people,
Yeah.
but there were some great lines with that where Deep was talking about the new Black Noir, and because they were both sleeping with
Yeah.
Sage, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you make a lobotomy? Like, does she make
Yeah.
you lobotomize her?" He's like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
So funny.
I just love how the Deep, and then he
Deep
like
is the
kills
best
his
character, probably.
octopus
Sure, yeah.
friend. Like, yeah, all that was really entertaining.
Yeah, I think my favorite character this season was probably at least what they did with Sister Sage. I love that idea. It kind of felt like what they were doing with the new Mission Impossible movie. This kind of higher intelligent being that like
Mhm.
can outsmart you at every turn. And I love going against an adversary that's not just stronger than you now, but also smarter than you. And
Yeah.
so I think my favorite episode was one of those earlier ones where they killed the guys and planted them in the crowds.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
yeah.
And
was
then
good. Yeah.
like it turned the
Blazing.
narrative so quickly.
Hmm.
And I was like, okay, this is the kind of like this is how they're playing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is they're killing like this guy from season 3, Mother Milk's
Ex-wife's
ex-wife's
boyfriend.
boyfriend.
Whatever
Yeah,
guy.
yeah.
Yeah. Bob or
That guy,
Todd or whatever.
horrible dude. At least very supportive of horrible people. Um, like killing him off was a really good shock, and then planting him was so smart.
Yeah, I was like, wow.
And I feel
That's
like that sort of, I mean, they made plays throughout the season. Some of them really worked, some of them didn't as much. I didn't I don't know if I loved in the end when Sister Sage came in and said, "See, it did go according to my
yeah,
plan."
that was
Because
like
it's kind of like it
it's
seems
kind of
too
hard
neat
to
of a bow. Like
Yeah.
I don't know, like I
That
would have
that to
liked to see
me
more of a setup to those dominoes falling in the way she wanted.
that to me
But
almost
yeah.
felt like, oh, well, it also still works out that Newman. It felt more
Yeah,
like she had an extra layer of protection behind if Newman
Yeah.
also died, because it was like the
that's
president
fair.
was going to get arrested, almost like, and like booted. So their original plan of the 25th Amendment was going to work out, and so it would have been Newman. But then when it ended up happening, she's like, "Oh, okay, cool. This actually turns out to be better." And
Yeah.
but she's going to present it to Homelander like,
Like
"See,
she did it.
told
Yeah.
ya."
Right.
Even if it's not entirely true, most of the steps were there. It just kind
Right.
of ended up working out.
But
That's
I
fair.
also would have liked if they had just shown more of Sage doing her own thing and kind of working
Mm.
on that plan C.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
because it kind of came in and just said like, I knew it. I said all this stuff and it's true. And it's kind of like if we the viewers had seen some of that stuff, even us not knowing what she was doing, but then
Yeah.
in that speech she can kind of refer back to it and say like this is what this was and blah blah blah.
Like if
Kind of
she
just
kept writing in a notebook or something, like or kept having this
something.
habit
Yeah.
that showed that she's still working on stuff, and
Yeah,
then she like holds up the notebook and says,
Yeah.
"This is
says
why you always have a
bazinga.
contingency," or
Right.
something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
But
yeah.
I really
Maybe.
liked
Yeah.
I felt kind of bummed almost that they had that cool I didn't feel bummed. Now I feel bummed thinking back on it that they had that really cool dynamic of like them killing their own supporters and planting them.
Mhm.
So cool, such a smart move. But then I don't feel like we really saw many more like smart moves of that level. It
I
kind of
think
just went
the
back to more
firecracker
push and
one
pull.
I did like the
probably was,
firecracker thing.
The
Yeah,
firecracker, yeah, okay,
but
that's fair.
yeah, but I hear what you're
But
saying.
and I think they shifted in favor of something that I also really loved, which is Homelander having a power dynamic with someone who is objectively better at this than he is,
Mhm.
Yeah,
but he's just not willing to give up control, even though he says that like I'll do
that he
whatever you
will.
say.
Yeah,
But then he just like he can't handle taking orders from somebody, and
Yeah.
that
I like
kind
that as
of
well.
push and pull that happened, I thought was so good
Yeah.
because right when he says like I'll do anything you say in that like first episode, maybe second episode, you're like
No shot.
no way. Like,
Yeah.
and so it's almost this kind of like, you know, tragic irony of like you just know that he's not going to be able to handle this, and
Yeah.
he starts not being able to handle it almost immediately. And I loved the dynamic between the two of them, and I don't know. I almost feel like her coming out at the end and being like, it did all go according to plan. Kind of not really, not to any real measurable degree, but kind of takes away from that dynamic how I liked it. Maybe it
Yeah.
adds to it actually, because she comes back out and she's like, see, you idiot, like I was actually smart the whole time or whatever. But
Yeah,
I just don't feel like I feel like honestly the payoff is better to just have it say like you've got this tragic blip in the story of Homelander where he had a chance to actually be smarter than the people he's fighting against and he couldn't handle not being in control, and now that chance is lost, you know.
yeah.
So it's like the dynamic going into the next stuff is going to be interesting, but
Yeah, I'm excited. I do like where they left us off in the season.
Same.
The one thing I'll reference Jared's question there with like the division of time, because they packed
Yeah.
a lot of stuff.
oh yeah,
And then I
sorry,
think we should,
No,
we
that's
got
okay.
no, it was
sidetracked.
good. It was good talking.
It's
This
a
is all,
fluid
yeah.
conversation.
And
Well, we
then,
can flow.
well, I think we should talk
We
about
can
predict, because see, they've said season 5 is going to be the last one. I think we should talk about how we think it will wrap up and some of the characters we think will or won't die. But the whole thing with Huey's parents, I thought was like it kind of felt like it didn't quite fit in this season,
Yeah.
because I mean, I guess, it was something for Huey to do and be distracted by, but I feel like he had enough already so that his dad dying almost didn't feel super impactful. And like his mom coming back, it was like he was almost a little bit too immediate in forgiving her. Like, I don't know. There was a lot that went into that. I again like how they gave him the Gen V or the temp, whatever
Yeah, the
Oh,
temp
the
fee.
temp
temp
V.
V, and he just went crazy.
Wait, I
And
don't
his
think
powers
his
were
was
just
even
miserable.
temp V. I think his was VV because he
Yeah, it
stole
was
it
just
from
The blue.
Homelander.
yeah, the
That's
blue.
just
Yeah,
yeah.
that's just
Yeah.
normal
Okay.
V. Um, which Ashley also took at the end, which I
Oh,
like
yeah,
that whole thing
dude.
too. How it
I'm
was like,
so
oh yeah, we're gonna
stoked
kill
for-
Ashley, and then she was like, no, I have to live. So she found the V and put it in, and
It's
then
gonna be something wretched.
She's gonna be.
It's
I
she's
gonna
think
be
gonna be.
something
I
horrid.
think her
Just-
parallel. Here's my guess. Sorry,
yeah.
I'm getting ahead of myself, but we brought up Ashley. My guess is that her comic book counterpart is going to be like Angel of the X-Men, but she is just going to be like a gargoyle, just like disgusting with these like nasty like wings and like
Interesting.
I think that she is just going to be a magnification of what she had already become, which is just this kind
Witch.
of disgusting,
Yeah.
do
Gross.
anything you can
Just-
to win, you know?
I thought it because the way that like all we saw was her just wailing in agony and just hearing some kind of squelching, and it looked like her skull was
Stranger
expanding.
Things style squelching.
So exactly. I was thinking it'd be more like the leader, but the
Oh.
leader of like with like kind of like that guy in Invincible season 2 whose brain is like his whole back,
Oh, I
but
still
just like
haven't
a
watched that. I
huge
need to watch
skull, like with just a pulsing brain.
Mhm.
But again, maybe she gets she's gonna look gnarly, obviously.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna be a disgusting sight.
Yeah.
Um,
Her hair is
I
gonna
can't believe
stay
she's
out.
made it this. Yeah,
you
she's gonna
know?
be bald. It's gonna
She's
be.
gonna be
I'm
just
wild.
so
icky.
happy that she's made it this long.
She's gonna look
She's-
like the chicken barbarian. That's my
Oh,
my guess.
Yeah, really.
they're just gonna cut and paste barbarian lady.
But with a
into this.
huge skull, pulsating
Yeah,
brain.
with a big skull.
I genuinely
That
think
would be
she
really
might
funny.
be like top 3 actors in this show for me. I just think she nails that character so
Yeah.
well.
She does
I
a
don't
great
know.
job.
She's so
I like
fun.
the dynamic of like Homelander wanting to find the leak as well, and just like killing that one reporter and that other lady, and just be
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I'm just killing these people, and the residuals of like A-Train and her, like, and their guilt and everything like that. I liked A-Train a lot in this season. How he's getting a bit of a
A-Train's
redemption arc.
evolution, I
Shocked he
thought
made
that
it
was
through the
awesome.
season as well.
Me
I
too.
was certain he was gonna die, but he made it, and so I think he'll die in the next season, which can kind of lead into what we think will happen. I
Yeah.
think almost certainly the show ends with Homelander dying. Homelander, at least, I mean, probably most of the boys, almost certainly Butcher as well. But I think Homelander kind of has to die for this to have a satisfying ending. Otherwise, there's always going to, and there will be eventually, of course, there's already 2 spin-offs of this show. Oh man, I just hope they're only prequels. Whatever. I can get away with not watching prequels. I just don't want to be watching, oh, hey, here's the Huey spinoff, and hey, here's
Yeah.
the Kamiko spinoff. It's like,
Yeah,
dude, just
no way.
let the
This is-
show
they-
end.
They've already been
Give it a
covered.
satisfying conclusion. Kill the characters who need to die and let the other characters just live out the rest of their lives off screen. But that seems unlikely.
No.
Homelander dying. That's my main prediction. What about you guys? What are you thinking?
Yeah, season 5 is the last season.
Yeah.
Of
Okay.
the Boys main show? They just announced another prequel series about
Right.
Soldier Boy and Stormfront, and Gen V is still going. But of the actual show, The Boys, season 5 is the last one. So
I think Homelander. I think he'll die. I think he'll win as well.
mhm.
Whatever his ultimate goal is, he's going to achieve that basically, and it won't be enough. He still will have this
Yeah. Oh, I love
just
that.
deep need for people, and will feel still so lonely, and his son will not fill that void or whatever it is, and maybe that escalates and pivots into him like, all right, I'm just going to kill everyone and myself, kind of
Oh,
thing.
dude, that'd be great. It could be. It very well
And
could just be. I'm gonna go crazy.
yeah, like I think that's kind of been this. It's been this kind of kettle pot, slowly like rising and rising, and eventually that steam just needs to release.
Yeah.
I don't know much about kettles.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's how they work.
Big time.
Something
Big
releases
time.
somehow. Steam is emitted.
Yeah, the
I-
thing pops open and it starts whistling, and that's how you know to take it off of the thing.
That's how we'll know when to end this show. You know what I mean? Is once we get that big, great
Yeah.
release. So I think something like that. Butcher, I feel like it's a promise that he will die.
Yeah.
And so I just assume they're going to fulfill that promise.
I think he should die. I mean,
I think you should.
I
there's
think
not
so,
really
too.
a lot of satisfaction that will come with him surviving. I don't think.
Yeah. So
I think those two
those two
just,
dying
yeah.
is my prediction.
I do think I'm gonna reference back to our finales episode. If Butcher dies, I'm gonna double down on what I said that I think would be a cool, or if Butcher survives, I mean, I'm gonna double down on what I said I think would be a cool finale, which is he survives, but nobody else does. And he failed in
He's
being
the
able to
only
save
boy left.
anyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's tragic because he's sick. And so it's like he's gonna die too. And he
Yeah.
failed to save everyone. Like, I think that would be so hardcore, but at least he killed Homelander, you know? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so that's one way of going about it. I think that Ryan will play a pivotal role in killing Homelander. I think at some point in season 5, we are going to get a Homelander mass murder scene,
Oh yeah.
like the one that he imagined, I think in
The
season
end.
2,
Yeah,
where he just
just
like lasers
lasering
down that whole
everyone.
crowd.
That, yep.
Which, by the way, I totally thought
Thought that was real.
happening.
I was like,
Yeah.
like,
I was like, no
and I
way.
think that we are gonna get a version of that that is real
Yeah.
in season 5. And yeah, I think that a main cast member that's not been promised to die is also going to die, whoever that might be. I honestly could see them killing Kimiko. I don't know
Yeah.
how they would, but I
Yeah.
could see it happening.
I could see Frenchie dying
Just
before
because
Kimiko.
I don't think that they are going to give everyone a happy ending. In fact, I
No,
think very few people will get a happy ending. And I think
I
the
think the
most
only reason they've
tragic,
kept people so long is so they could ruin
so
their
they could
lives
ruin
Yeah.
them
more.
in the
Yeah.
last season. Yeah.
I think that Frenchie's the most tragic thing that could happen to Frenchie at this point is Kimiko dying
And him
and
not
so-
dying. Yeah.
and him surviving.
Yeah.
So I could really see that happening. That would be my guess
Interesting.
of like one of the main characters' deaths. I think she's pretty high on the list, especially because she's died so many times, but her healing factor, whatever, I think they could like Logan her, basically like, oh, she's in a situation where that doesn't work and now she's gonzo, you know.
Well, and also the virus is, a thing.
That's in play now, yeah.
I could see them doing what you're saying with Butcher, but with Huey, where he's the only one who lives. Like
Mhm.
everyone, because it's like, he's kind of the main character in terms of like, he's the one we're introduced to this world through the perspective of, he's kind of the Harry Potter of the boys world.
Yeah, totally.
And so him being the only one to survive would also just be miserable.
Yeah.
You're saying he'll be the boy who lived?
He'll be the boy who lived, but not
Nice.
because he survived anything,
Origin
just because
story.
it becomes, he'll just be like, oh, cool, I made all these friends, and then they all died. That's awesome that I had this cool, that like, I think that could be fitting. I really don't think they'll stay together. Like, I don't think he and Annie will get married. I kind
No
of feel
way.
like they want to ruin that
Well,
relationship
by
somehow.
that
Hmm.
time, her metamorphosis into a wax sculpture will be complete.
Yeah, so she'll have to be
That
written
is
out of the
true.
show regardless. So
Rough.
I-
But she
I don't
does
want to
look
dwell on that too much, but
drastically
she
different.
looks.
yeah, she's
Yeah.
It's
There
tough.
has been a change. I won't make any sort of comment about addictions or anything like that. However, she looks like a wax sculpture of Erin Moriarty at
herself.
this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which made room for, Kamiko to shine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And
honestly.
That's great.
it's great.
She's
It's
Kamiko was
just
great this
one of
season.
those
I
things
like
where-
Kamiko always, but I liked her little backstory. She's finally yapping. She
She's
started yapping at the
finally
end.
yapping.
yapping. She's yapping loud.
Yeah, she's loud.
But I think just let this be a lesson to all of you as aspiring actors. If you get hired on to be the same character over the course of like 10 years, maybe don't do anything that will drastically alter the way that you look. Because everyone's going to be confused about it and people will mention it on the internet.
Of course, we're talking about Mother's Milk shaving his
We're
beard.
talking about
In case
Mother's
you
Milk shaving his beard, which was so confusing to me. Going straight from season 3 to season 4, I checked for sure if he had been recast.
That's so
This
it had
guy
been
is-
long enough that I didn't even think about that. I was like, oh
Oh,
yeah.
dude,
Yeah,
It
there's
was-
Mother's Milk.
it was so jarring to me.
He looked nice.
He looked
does,
great,
he looks
and
great.
his performance was great. But I honestly, I didn't believe that it was the same guy until I held my hand up to block hit the bottom half of his face, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that is
Oh,
still
there it is.
him." Like,
Well, and so it's interesting too, because the guy who played Black Noir in season 1 and 2 in the suit is Black Noir in season
is
4.
now, yeah,
So they had a different
Ah.
guy play him for the face in season 3, and then the body came back and is now has his face and
now
everything. So
talking and playing
it's
a
kind of fun.
different
That's
character.
they let the
Yeah.
actor come back and still be in the show.
Yeah,
And I
especially
it's a
because
different
Black Noir
character.
isn't really like much of a character. Obviously, in season 3 we get backstory and
Yeah.
he's great, but just before then it's just dude in mask stares
Yeah.
at you
Mhm.
Yeah.
or falls
Menacingly,
asleep.
I like his like peanut allergy or
menacing.
whatever. There's little
Yeah.
flashes of his
Yeah.
life.
Yeah, that's right.
But I think his character this season was so funny. Of
Yeah,
just
not a
an
huge part of it,
actor
but
that just
very.
wants to get the role right, but then also is upset that he's not being used to his full potential. He's like, I can fly, dude.
All
Like,
that stuff was really
Yeah, that's
it
good.
really
was
good.
it was so funny. I loved him, and I loved the Deep.
Yeah.
Deep is probably my favorite character in the show. Just
miserable.
because every time he shows up on the screen, I kind of like lean in. Like that's when I'm like focused, just because I know something is gonna happen that I'm gonna love. He never has a wasted scene or wasted time on screen.
Well,
I
and
think he's the best.
this is just a random side note, but he's really good friends with, I think it's Miles Teller and there's another actor that I'm forgetting. But
Interesting. That's kind of
just
fun.
like on Instagram and stuff, I've seen posts from, I think it's Miles Teller's wife, who's just, they're all on a boat together and they're passing each other beers while they're, wakeboarding. And I'm
That's
like,
sick.
what a crew to hang out with. I
Really
gotta
easy.
figure out who that other guy
Who
is.
the third
Yeah.
friend
Because
is.
I can't remember, but it's somebody you
Yeah,
would know
find
as
it
well.
and send it to us. Well, I don't have anything else to say, and my mouth is kind of dry. How are you guys feeling?
I feel satisfied with our
feeling
conversation.
good. Feeling
I
good.
ultimately ended up liking this season, but I'm also very excited to see where they go from here with season 5. However,
Big time.
not excited for 2-year wait.
Yeah.
No,
I
that's ridiculous.
am also excited for season 5. I know I said some negative things about season 4. I'm
Yeah.
hoping
Well, that's
because
fair,
there
though.
has been some pushback and people have had some complaints that maybe they'll tone it down a bit and make it so when there are those like big moments of violence, they just
Mhm.
hit a little bit different.
Yeah.
Or like I think an example is that scene, the crowd scene when he lasers everybody in season 2, like we talked about, and that was an imagination or an intrusive thought for Homelander, and like that felt very real, and it was very like jarring, and it meant something. And then in the ice rink episode, Vought on Ice, which was hilarious.
Yeah.
Dude, that was so. Yeah, we
That
watched
was
that
He
episode.
did
together.
the
That was
same
great.
thing, basically, lasered a bunch of people,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
and there was no consequences to it, and it was
yeah.
just played for shock. And it was a good scene.
That
Sure.
is true. However, he's lasered people previously and not. I think it depends on who's around, who's watching.
Yeah,
Because the
Yeah.
VOD on Ice, it was just VOD people, as far as I can remember.
yeah, and they could clean it all up.
And it's like whatever we
Yeah.
could, but with the guy he blasts on Madison wherever
Yeah.
that was there was very much the public eye was on him. But
I
I
just
still
had
get
an
what you mean.
idea, something to pitch for season 5.
Yeah.
In the scene where he inevitably mows down a crowd, what if
him
they
do it with
do-
a Bud Light?
Yeah. I
Get some
just
good
love
product
sipping Bud Light.
placement.
Slurp.
what if they did it like a reverse of the original scene? Because now he's trying so hard to be like he's fully accepted who he is, but he's also like with Ryan, he's like kind of trying to be a good dad, and he's like trying every time he's faced with like needing to lead Vought or be a leader, you can tell he like wants to do it well, but just doesn't know how to and can't. And so what if there's a scene where he gets asked some question and the people in the audience are all like booing him and stuff, and you see him just handle it perfectly with total finesse, but then it cuts back to the beginning of that moment where he is
Oh,
asked
yeah.
that question, and instead of handling it with class and finesse,
He
just
mows
murders
'em.
everybody.
Yeah.
That could be kind of a cool
That
parallel.
would be,
That would
yeah.
be cool.
It would be hard to do in a way that like you really get it right, but
Mhm.
it could be
Yeah.
kind of a cool way to show how his character has changed so much, but also stayed exactly the same.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, that could be
like
that
that.
could be very fun.
I'm interested.
Yeah. Well, I gotta go slake my thirst with a
Ooh.
big old tall glass of
Water. No.
No, I don't drink
Oh.
water anymore. I actually found out that water is like bad for you and it like clogs all your pores. If you drink milk
Interesting.
all the time.
Huh.
That's why we drink milk as babies,
It's not the
Because of our
same
pores?
milk.
because of our pores.
It's not cow
Baby
milk.
pores are very fragile. You can't even feed a baby water because it's poisonous to babies.
I was just gonna say, my friend in the hospital, when his wife gave birth, they were talking. It's like, yeah, one thing to keep in mind, guys, don't give a baby water. And he was like, I hate that they had to tell me that. I guess
You know that other people
have been like, oh yeah, how much water should we give our baby?
How much
It's like-
water do we feed this?
You don't give your baby any water, and you don't give it normal milk too.
No
Isn't that
water,
crazy?
no sunlight.
Formula or
No
breast
water.
milk. And speaking of breast milk, thanks for listening to our episode.
Shout
about
out
the
to
boys.
Kel.
I hate that. I hate that, and I promise that she hates it.
That was not where I was going with that, but great segue.
Who
Jared
fed
segue
Niall
king.
as a baby? Let's find out.
Let's
And
find
shout
out.
her out.
All right. Well, I'm gonna do this. I hate the feeling.
This is
that
the
I
best
have right
shout
now.
out to Kel of all.
Of
This is the
all
best
time.
shout out to Kel of all, and we shout out Kel today with maybe some heavy hearts because we have talked. Well, I'm gonna do the shout out to Kel
Yeah, this is
first.
a-
Let's hear the shout outs to Kel.
This week's shout out to Kel come from Alec Olson, Roan Oberg, Nick Bell, Michael Polonczyk, Easy Lob, Britton Inkley, Riley Allen, Ian, James Martin, and Hannah Steed. Thank you to all of you for doing what you do and for helping what you help and for being
Who you be?
what you be.
Sorry.
This will probably be the last time, at least for the next while.
Well, we'll still have a
Well, we'll
Patreon.
still shout them
still
out.
have a
If they're
Patreon.
still,
Are we
gonna-
if you're
so
still
it's
subscribed,
still a
we'll
shout
be-
out to
we'll-
Kel.
Yeah, we'll still shout you out if you're still subscribed.
Yeah, please.
All right,
But,
great. Yeah, for
You
sure.
don't have to get a shout out to Kel. Certainly. If you guys would like to support us, the people who we just read the names of are those who support us on Patreon.
True.
We
.com.
have a lot of extra episodes on there that if you subscribe to our Patreon, you'll have access to. We typically do them every week. We are going to be on a hiatus for the time being, making those episodes just with our busy lives. But you can still support us there. It's $3 a month, and we'll shout you out, and we'll love you forever.
We'll give
Until
you a
you
kiss on your
unsubscribe.
skull.
It's not. It's we will love you as long as you're subscribed.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
There's also a free tier. I'm pretty sure we have one
Yeah.
free subscriber. If you join that, once our episodes are back up, you'll see them. But yeah, it's a cool.
Well, there's
cool,
still
good
the
and
old
fun
ones are still
place.
up. You can go back
Yeah.
and listen. There just won't be new ones.
Yeah.
So there's
We won't-
41 over the span of the last year that we were doing it.
41? Jeez.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, we did
That's
we did a
crazy.
fair few.
We
of
play
those,
little
so
games. We talk about live stuff, which is now probably a little dated.
might
But
could be, but
that's our update to, I guess, everyone is those are going to be on hiatus for a while. We'll still have a Patreon. You're welcome to support us. You are by no means obligated to,
yeah.
as is normally the case.
Right.
But
Just
we
know
love ya.
that you're not getting like new stuff.
New
right
stuff.
now.
You're getting old.
By
stuff.
You're
Yeah.
getting old new stuff.
You're
Yeah,
getting
old
old
new
new
stuff.
stuff.
New to
Stuff that's
you.
old
New
for
to
us
New
you.
and
to
new
you
to
if you're a new
New to
subscriber.
you, but it's also going to feel old because we're talking about what's going on like last summer. So be aware of that.
and news. We do
Yeah.
talk about news a lot more, but it could be
Yeah.
interesting to have that perspective of what we thought was going to happen,
Yeah.
and then it's
The
true or false.
old time capsule. Anyway, thank you
Anyway.
guys so much for listening. We love you. We miss you. And we just want to get back together. So please answer our calls. See you on another Man Cave Movie Night Monday.
Bye bye.
Hey, Luigi.